Good afternoon, everyone. I see a lot of faces I recognize and some that I don't, so that's good news. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Adam Stieg. I'm one of the associate directors here at the California NanoSystems Institute at UCLA. And on behalf of CNSI Director Jeff Miller, who's in the back, and all of our colleagues from CNSI, I'd like to welcome you all to our open house. It's been a number of years. We were just chatting about when the last time we did this. It was certainly pre-COVID. I think it was at least 7 or 8 years ago. We used to do this every year to highlight all the new capabilities and exciting things that we're doing. And so we're really glad to kick this back off again, open our doors to the community. I know we have a lot of folks from UCLA. Who's from UCLA? All right, about half the hands. Who's not from UCLA? Okay, we got a bunch of hands that are not from UCLA. That's good, right? We serve the local, regional, and international community. And so it's exciting to have people here from different communities. And so what I'm going to do right now for all those folks who are not from UCLA is to give you a little bit of an intro into who we are and what we do here at the CNSI, and then I'm going to turn it over to the directors of our shared facilities. They're each going to give you a sort of highlight, quick 5-minute sizzle reel about what all the exciting things that they do. We're going to then take a chance to open up the labs and have, give you a couple hours to go and visit and ask questions and see what we're up to. And then toward the tail end, we're going to have a reception, drinks and food and snacks to network and connect and ask questions that you may have not had a chance to ask during the tours. And so for the next 4 hours, to the extent that you all want to be here with us, we're excited to be here with you. And so I'm just going to take a few minutes to give you a quick sense of where you actually are. And so the California NanoSystems Institute is a partnership operating under the University of California system. There are 4 what are known as the Institutes of Science and Innovation. They cover different domains of science and technology. We are partners with our colleagues at UC Santa Barbara in the area of nanoscience. And what we do here generally, although we're not an academic department providing degree programs for students, we educate and we bring together folks from disparate fields. We do team science initiatives to address grand challenge problems that are sort of facing society. And we do it with all deep domain expertise that each of us brings to bear. And so we are a sort of ecosystem of innovation. As part of the university, we also have a mission to not just produce papers in fancy journals, which is always great. Everyone likes a science and nature paper, but ultimately to get those technologies and the solutions out into the wild for the benefit of society. And so we also are the place, which you won't see here today, but the place where we incubate technologies, translate and commercialize technologies. And so on the 6th floor upstairs, we have actually 30 startup companies operating inside this building. So we develop and foster a culture of entrepreneurship amongst our faculty, our students, and our postdocs. And then, of course, even though we are not an academic department, we are training the next generation of scientists and engineers. And whether that's in traditional university classes, in laboratory hands-on training opportunities, workforce development, some of these things, the CNSI really addresses all the critical areas of innovation, commercialization, and education here at UCLA. So without going into the gory details, what I would say is that pipeline going from left to right is really facilitated by our research infrastructure. And so at both CNSI sites on both campuses, there are large-scale investments in our research infrastructure. Our technology centers, which is what you're here to see today, are one of these foundational pillars that provides access to researchers to explore their exciting solutions. We then bring these teams of folks together and we form centers. So you see some examples in the center here of large-scale, multi-year, multidisciplinary, and multi-investigator centers that come out of and leverage the infrastructure and the sort of ecosystem of innovation that we have here. And then, of course, we translate those into examples where we're commercializing technology, a lot of which comes out of UCLA, and we're trying to push that forward out into society. And so this culture of innovation, right, leads to incubation, right? So we're not here to see Magnify, which is our startup incubator today, but for those of you who may be interested in the startup space or entrepreneurship, a lot of that is driven, again, by our technology centers. We're not a hotel for companies. Our companies are here for a reason. They're here because of the proximity they have to the investigators that they may or may not be collaborating with and taking advantage of our research infrastructure. And so we have a number of companies over the last decade that we've incubated that have been very successful in fundraising and creating new jobs and new markets in and around the Los Angeles region. And so that's the next step on that pipeline of what we do here at CNSI. And then, of course, we need to keep this flywheel going, right? And so we need to educate the next generation. So we're from K through 12 outreach into the local community in Los Angeles, training teachers, working with students, developing educational modules that can be deployed in sort of the youngest of the young generation, all the way up to workforce development and professional training programs that we are deploying in concert with our facilities and other partners throughout the region. We are engaged in non-traditional university education activities, but we do play a very critical role in that aspect. But what you all are here to see today are our technology centers. And so you may recognize technology centers more often described as user facilities or core labs. We call them technology centers because they are hubs where we are developing, pushing, and deploying advanced technology. We're not always providing standard stuff. We're building and designing and making things do what they weren't designed to do, specifically to meet the needs of the research community that we have. And so you see here, we have over 100 unique services distributed across the different facilities that you hear about today. We have somewhere between 1,500 and 2,000 unique researchers come here. And since we opened our doors about 15, 17 years ago, we've trained over 10,000 researchers to utilize the advanced capabilities in making and measuring screening of all sorts of things at nanoscale, dimensions, materials, devices, living systems. And so the technology centers followed this pipeline, right? So we are open 24/7, 365 days a year. One of the reasons that a lot of the hands went up that were not from UCLA is because we're open to anybody. Academia, non-UC academia, industry, government labs with no preference and no priority, right? Everybody can come here and use these facilities on a fee-for-service basis. We provide access, infrastructure, expertise, and most importantly, training, right? We're not generally a service provider. We want to teach you all how to do these measurements while in collaboration with our team to be able to get you where you need to go. We take people that are novices and we make them experts. We allow experts and we work and collaborate with them to push the domains of knowledge forward through innovation and development. And so as you see here, we have a lot of different things that are going on. The labs are used quite heavily. If you were to stand at the front door and you looked at who's walking into the building, I would say probably between a third and a half of everyone who walks through the front door is coming to use the facilities here, in addition to all the other exciting things that happen within the Institute. And so on the lower left, you'll see this is just some high-level things that will highlight. I won't get into the details because you're going to hear it from my colleagues, but you see that part of what we do, as I said, is that we're not just providing standard services. We like this sort of feed-forward loop that involves obviously advanced instrumentation, but developing technology, providing training, providing service, collaborating, disseminating, and having that be a virtuous cycle where we continue to deliver real value to the community of science in Los Angeles. And so you're going to see 6 labs today. There are posters. I'm not going to go through this, but in the basement level, my sort of joke is that actually I was at the Getty Conservation Institute with some folks that were here yesterday. They have beautiful labs with giant windows overlooking the mountains. It makes me a little jealous. But what I always say is that our basement is prime real estate, right? If you don't want a view of the ocean, but you want a view of atoms and molecules and the smallest of the small, you need to be in a quiet, isolated place. And so the basement level is where we do our measuring. And so you'll see that there are 3 measurement suites, which are 3 main pillars: optical, electron, and scanning probe microscopy to characterize and measure the things that people are making, right? And as you move up, you will go to level A. For those of you who are interested in microelectronics, semiconductor manufacturing, we have our clean room. One of our 2 locations at UCLA is operating on the A level of the building. Don't worry if you want to go see the clean room, but you don't want to put the bunny suit on. I don't think you're taking people inside, right? No, so we're not getting gowned up. It'll just be a discussion sort of window tour if you're interested in what we have there. On the 2nd floor, you'll see an example of an automated synthetic biology platform that's designed for materials discovery, in particular in the space of sustainable biopolymers. And then all the way up on the 6th floor is our drug discovery and high throughput screening facility, which is really, really unique and exciting. So all of these labs are going to be open for you. After we stop talking, you're going to have a chance to go up. We're not doing curated tours where we're signing up on sheets. We want it to be sort of flexible and free flowing, right? So all of the staff for the labs are going to be here. We have a lot of people that support these labs, many of which are, PhD trained folks. So you will see a lot of familiar faces throughout the day as you move through the laboratories, as well as the people who are going to talk to you next. But these are the people that you're available to talk to, right? And so the biggest thing that we do at the beginning is that we open our doors and we want people to come in, right? We want to talk about where your challenges are. We want to understand what you're trying to do and to define whether or not there's a near-term opportunity to give you what you need, or, which everyone has heard me say before, the answer is not no, right? Even if it's not necessarily something we can do now, our goal is through, calling ourselves developers of technology is to find solutions, to develop solutions, to make technologies that we have work in different ways to address the problems that the community brings to us. And so a lot of this starts from conversation. And so we're hopeful with our open house that you can come and see and ask questions, understand what's possible, and hopefully maybe define some future directions for you to come back in the future and utilize our resources. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to our first speaker, who is Laurent Bentolila. He's the director of our Advanced Light Microscopy and Spectroscopy facility, which is our optics characterization facility down on the B level. And then we'll just go through a sequence, that sequence that I said. There's going to be 5 or 6 minute talks, 5 or 6 minute talks, gentlemen. Right? And then we'll do a quick wrap up and head out and get to show you all around the lab. So again, thank you for coming. I'll probably thank you again at the end, but appreciate your attention. Laurent, the stage is yours.